What's up, guys, and welcome back to Wake Up Entertainment. So, Brigadier Gininda made a bold statement by declaring that the witnesses who were in the house, they were inconsistent with the versions of the stories that they were telling. So Gininda was giving the view that these people, they differ what they say from one statement to the next statement.
A lot can be seen um, where one incident takes place and then people dispose affidavit who were all present, but you will not find a similar pattern. Almost like even here in court, I can assure my lord that if an incident happens, when we dispose affidavits, myself and advocate even Mnisi might differ with slight utterances in terms of what happened, because it depends as to when it happens, how was my reaction, how are you as a human being made to react to those situations. So
Who else from the witnesses who was in the house describes the gun toter as a person who did not have dreadlocks?
I don't think, my lord, there's any of the people in the house who says the first intruder did not have dreadlocks. That's my recollection. All the statements are saying the first intruder had dreadlocks.
And do you then realize that when you say that the people in the house differ in terms of their description of the person who got into the house, that is inaccurate?
No, I think perhaps, my lord, we didn't understand each other.
I don't know if it's a fair question. To start with, this question is very broad. And secondly, the question that preceded that was to read out the description contained in this report by Ms. Tinekam and as given by Ms. Kelly Kumalo, and then to ask this witness, can this description be faulted? And the witness then said, well, there are certain details that differ, but now to say that her answer was incorrect, we submit, my lord, that there is not a fair proposition to put to this witness.
So having heard about this, Advocate Mnisi then questioned Brigadier Gininda to say, when it comes to the skin complexion of the intruder, how did the people who were in the house describe that intruder? So Gininda, to support his statement, he then gave these various descriptions from dark brown to shiny in complexion. And it was still good and going for Brigadier Gininda. But the next question now, it then exposed Brigadier Gininda really wide open. And it is that question of the people who were in the house when they describe this intruder. All of them, do they say he had dreadlocks or not? And here, having realized the trap that Advocate Mnisi was setting up for him, Brigadier Gininda saw it fit not to walk into that trap, because it would be very difficult for him to come out of that trap. So that's when he then boldly declared that all the people who are in the house are actually consistent when it comes to the issue of the dreadlocks. Now, this is where the problem really is at. Gininda is just showing inconsistencies here with his answers. At first, he says the people in the house are not consistent in what they say, but when he is asked about the dreadlocks, he says all of them are consistent. It's just really troubling for Gininda to sort of twisting and bending whenever he wants to, because this sort of appears as if Gininda has cooked something, because he just cannot give a straight answer and stick to it. So here, Advocate Mnisi has completely exposed Brigadier Gininda with all of his consistencies. And what is just amazing here is that Judge Rata seems to have finally given up in trying to defend Gininda, because usually Judge Rata would step in and sort of give the defense, the state and start like defending them whenever they are pressed into a tight corner. But here, Judge Rata seems to have like given up on it and is just letting things go as they are. Because the way that we see that Judge Rata seems to have given up on Gininda in the state is that in a court of law, whenever there is an objection, for example, like this objection that has been given by Advocate Baloyi, the judge determines whether it is sustained or not. That's why Advocate Mnisi is like, I'm not so sure whether I should continue or not. He is now like begging Judge Rata to give a judgment on this objection. It just shows you that Judge Rata is not just listening and has finally given up on defending the state. Or maybe, you never know, he's afraid of like ruling in favor of the defense. So as things stand, this tells us one thing, like in summary, like it's still a long way for this case to be finally concluded, because there are so many things that have to be proven prior to this case to be concluded. And some of the big challenges are the delaying tactics by Brigadier Gininda, with all of his inconsistencies when he is answering these questions. But the good thing about this overall is that Advocate Mnisi is very, very patient, and he is taking his time to explain all his points so that Gininda's weak points can be exposed as much as possible. And Mnisi is building up his argument very, very, very well. So overall, let's analyze the strategy that is being used by Advocate Mnisi here, because what Advocate Mnisi is doing is that he is making the witness to feel as if a certain point is not that important and he can just answer as yes or no and then we move on. But that point, it finally leads the witness into a sort of a trap, and it makes you like relax until you are finally cornered. And that's the strategy that Advocate Mnisi is using here, the strategy of just being patient. So in order to win the case, what the defense has to do, like Advocate Mnisi, he is representing accused number 3, what he can do is to try and prove that his client was actually elsewhere on 26 October 2014 and that he did not have dreadlocks. It is those 2 points that are very, very critical that he has to prove. If he fails to prove the dreadlocks, then he has to prove the location part. If he can't prove the location part, then he has to prove the dreadlocks part. And as for Brigadier Gininda, he can continue on going on answering the way he's answering, because some of these questions is just going round and round in circles and they don't mean that much at the end overall when looking at the case. So those are the two sides for the state and for the defense, if they both intend to win this case. So tell me what you think in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.